All right, so in this video, we are going to simplify these radical expressions over here, and we're going to simplify them without a calculator. Let's take a look at the first two examples. In this first example here, I have two radical factors multiplying by each other. So I'm going to multiply this out by FOIL. I'll start by multiplying the first two terms. So 6 times 3 is just 18. 6 times 2 root 10. So when you're multiplying a number with a radical, you just multiply the number with the number on the outside. So 6 times 2 is 12. So that's going to just stay as 12 root 10. Then I have negative root 5 times 3. So that's just negative 3 root 5 because I just multiplied the 3 with the positive or the negative 1 out there. It became negative 3. And then the last multiplication is root 5 times 2 root 10. When you're multiplying two radicals, the numbers on the outside multiply. So negative 1 times 2 is negative 2. And root 5 times root 10 is just a root of 50 because 5 times 10 is 50. Now we need to simplify this using our rules of radicals. So we need to break down any of the radical numbers into one of our square rootable numbers. Those are 4, 9, 16, 25, and so on and so forth. Every number squared. So this one over here, I can't really break it down into any square rootable number, so it just stays the same. Same with this one over here, just stays the same. But I know I can break down 50 into 25 times 2, and I know I can square root 25. So you always want one of the numbers in here to be square rootable. All right, the initial equation the same, and now I'm going to simplify this over here. So square root of 25 is 5, and 5 times negative 2 is just negative 10 root 2. And then you would try to combine like terms if possible, but in this case, there are no like terms. So this is just my final solution. Let's take a look at the second example over here. So whenever you have a bracket squared, you want to write out that bracket 2 times. Now we're going to FOIL it out. So 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 3 root 3. 2 times 3 is just 6. So 6 root 3. 3 root 3 times 2 is the same. It's another 6 root 3. And 3 root 3 times 3 root 3. Well, 3 times 3 is 9. And root 3 times root 3 is just 3, because if you multiply by a root by the same thing, you just get rid of the square root. So root 3 times root 3 would be root 9, which is basically just 3. Now we want to simplify this. So 6 root 3 plus 6 root 3 is just 12 root 3. We're adding the coefficients. 9 times 3 is 27. And 4 plus 27 is just 31 plus 12 root 3. That is my final solution. Third question, I'll write it down over here. It's root 2 plus root 5 times root 2 minus root 5. So again, we're doing FOIL over here. Root 2 times root 2 is just 2. Root 2 times negative root 5 is negative root 10. Root 5 times root 2 is positive root 10. And root 5 times negative root 5 is negative 5. 2 minus 5 is negative 3. Negative root 10 and positive root 10 just cancel each other off. They're basically the same, but that's just a 0. So my final answer here is just negative 3. Let's go to the fourth example, which is 3 root 3 plus 4 root 2 times root 3 minus 2 root 2. So same idea over here. Let's do the first terms. So 3 root 3 times root 3. 3 times 1 is 3. And root 3 times root 3 is 3. And 3 root 3 times negative 2 root 2. So 3 times negative 2 is negative 6. And 3 times 2 is root of 6. I'm doing the inside terms. So 4 root 2 times root 3 is 4 root 6. And 4 times negative 2 is negative 8. Root 2 times root 2 is just 2. Now I just need to simplify this. 3 times 3 is 9. Negative 6 root 6 plus 4 root 6 is just negative 2 root 6. I'm just adding the coefficients there. And negative 8 times 2 is negative 16. 9 minus 16 is negative 7. The final answer is negative 7 minus 2 root 6. 2 more questions. Next one is 2 root 5 minus 3 root 7 squared. So remember, when I have a square, the first thing I want to do is just write out a bracket twice. And now I want to FOIL out these two brackets. So 2 root 5 times 2 root 5. 2 times 2 is 4. Root 5 times root 5 is 5. 2 times negative 3 is negative 6. Root 5 times root 7 is root 35. Negative 3 root 7. Negative 3 times 2 is again negative 6. And root 7 times root 5 is also root 35. And then negative 3 times negative 3 is positive 9. Root 7 times root 7 is just 7. 4 times 5 is 20. You can combine these two terms to make it negative 12 root 35. And 9 times 7 is 63. And 20 plus 63 is 83. And root 35 cannot be reduced because it can't be divided by 4, 9, 16, or 25, or any square rootable number. So this would be the final solution. So the last question of this video, this one's going to be the hardest one. So we have 1 minus root 3 times 2 plus root 6 times 5 plus root 2. So now we have 3 brackets multiplying here. I'm going to FOIL out these 2 brackets first. I'm going to write the first bracket exactly the same. Second one's going to be in a bracket. 2 times 5 is 10. 2 times root 2 is 2 root 2. Root 6 times 5 is 5 root 6. And then root 6 times root 2 is root 12. Now, root 12 can actually be simplified over here because you can turn this into 4 times 3. So 1 minus root 3, 10 plus 2 root 2, plus 5 root 6. And this I'm going to turn into 4 times 3 because I know 4 is square rootable. And then I'm just going to bring that 4 outside the square root. The square root of 4 is just 2, so 2 root 3. Now there are no like terms I can combine here. So now I got to multiply these 2 brackets. I'm going to start by multiplying 1 with all of these 4 terms. If I multiply 1 with all of these 4 terms, I'll just get the same thing. 10 plus 2 root 2 plus 5 root 6 plus 2 root 3. Then I'm going to multiply negative root 3 times all of these. So negative root 3 times 10 is negative 10 root 3. Negative root 3 times 2 root 2 is negative 2 root 6. Negative root 3 times this is going to be negative 5 root 18. And negative root 3 times this is negative 2, and root 3 times root 3 is just 3. Now I want to simplify as much as possible, combine any like terms. I'm just going to start by writing this 10 the same. There's no other root 2's right now, so I'm going to write this the same as well. 5 root 6 minus 2 root 6 is 3 root 6. 2 root 3 minus 10 root 3 is negative 8 root 3. This one I can actually simplify. So I've already taken care of all of these now. This one I can actually simplify by turning this into a 9 times 2, because 9 is square rootable, and negative 2 times 3 is negative 6. Now we can combine these two terms. 10 minus 6 is just 4. None of these can combine, so I'm going to write them all the same. And this, I'm going to bring the 9 out. The square root of 9 is 3. Negative 5 times 3 is negative 15. And now I can combine these two terms because these two are like terms. So 2 minus 15 is negative 13 root 2. And this is my final solution.